Is that my beer?
Yeah, that's your beer.
It's your beer.
You sure?
Yeah. Well, we only had so much beer.
Why did you get the more?
Because that's what my beer
So fucking you can tell.
really.
Just kidding.
Welcome to the Brew and Review. This is Eric. I'm Brandon, and this is Brent. We just got back from seeing The Wolfman, directed by Joe Johnston.
Cheers.
Cheers. Brought to you by Werewolf Ale.
The Wolfman. Wolfman stars Benicio del Toro and Anthony Hopkins and Emily Blunt. Benicio del Toro plays Lawrence Talbot, and after discovering that his brother has died, he returns home and vows to figure out who's killed him.
This story is completely lost in loop for the special effects.
Yeah,
by the way.
pretty. You'll forget about this guy's brother within 10 seconds of watching this movie.
Because they are phenomenal.
While investigating his death, he is bit by a werewolf, and has to endure the fun, gory details of becoming a werewolf himself.
You see, like, in my opinion of that movie was that it was completely lost in special effects. Like, everything special effects-wise was amazing.
Well, I don't know. I thought it was really cool. Like, I actually felt like I was back in that time frame. Like, everything they did was very subtle, but it made the movie very slow.
Yeah, absolutely. The movie was very, very slow.
Don't expect a lot of action. The gore was probably the most
gore was
realistic.
I
But he
love
does
Del
look
Toro.
like the Wolfman without the makeup too.
Yeah, it was like one of those. It's like in Spider-Man where like you're
seen-
like, well, Willem Dafoe, you could have just painted his face green, and he would have been the Green Goblin. Perfect.
Benicio del Toro
you could put
already
some
looked
hair.
like a... Yeah. I mean, in terms of... It's like you're watching it, you know the story's pretty cool. It's not the simplest story in the world, so it's a decent story, but you can't help but think the whole time that they could have told it differently or better. They could have the same story, but just had told it.
What do you guys think of Emily Blunt, out of curiosity?
She's hot and everything. It was 18th century, and she's like dressed from head to toe in garment, and yet I was still like that ass through the whole movie.
That bodice, my God.
That bodice.
That bonnet. And Anthony Hopkins plays the father, Sir John Talbot. And right off the get-go, his character's really kind of messed up, little insane.
Actually, it was basically. Yeah, what would you say it was? It was basically Legends
Oh
of
yeah,
the Fall.
I couldn't help but make parallels of this movie to Legends of the Fall. One of the Talbot brothers is killed, so Lawrence Talbot comes back home, sees old Anthony Hopkins, the father Talbot. Emily Blunt plays Gwen Conliffe. She was to wed the one Talbot. They all had this weird kind of infatuation with her, and you couldn't help but make the parallels to Legends of the Fall. 'Cause it's the same.
Brad Pitt's character was played by Mr. Smith.
Yeah, Hugo Weaving. That was another guy. He was actually the best part of the movie. Hugo Weaving played an inspector from Scotland Yard. That was the thing. It's like at times it could be a really cool movie, but it was also really corny and funny, and I'm sure it wasn't
But I think
intended
that's because
to be.
it was so dry. I mean, back in that time frame, everything was so dry. And yes, ma'am, yes, sir. Pint of bitters, please.
That was great.
Yeah, I know.
Pint of bitters.
Pint of bitters.
Pint of
Yes.
I love the original Wolfman, the old black and white, and what's really hip about it is that they kept the look. Like, he looks like just a slightly exaggerated version of the
It was all makeup.
Who played
Lon
the original?
Chaney.
Lon Chaney. He looked just like the shape, the face, the kind of the arch of the back, humanoid version. Not like American Werewolf in London, where they became a monstrous wolf.
And that's kind of like a cat monster, too.
But it was actually Rick Baker. Rick Baker, who became famous, or was famous at the time, but became even more famous because of American Werewolf.
Yeah, Rick
which is by the it's still even after all this movie, after any werewolf movie, best werewolf transformation ever.
Yeah.
There's
without a doubt.
Yeah,
without a doubt.
there's
Nobody's
something you can
topped it
see.
yet.
Yeah, you can see the painstaking work that's in that scene.
And it shared some similarities to the American Werewolf in London transformation scene with the legs stretching at the ankle.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that was a throwback.
Yeah.
What was your favorite gore scene, without giving it away? But what was your favorite gore scene in that movie?
Probably the first decapitation. And
there's decapitation, by the way.
There was one, and I don't want to give it away. I really don't want to give it away, but
Can you describe the type
there's
of gore?
there's a certain style of werewolf claw coming through a certain area of a person's. Not gonna give it away.
You're not gonna give anything
your
away.
hand on
I'm a huge fan of werewolf movies. I was upset and excited that they decided to stick to the old school dog face. Like
I disagree.
Well, I loved it that it was a throwback, and I'm just a huge fan of the snout werewolf and all that. But because they decided to go with old school and they stuck to it very traditionally and very well done, I have to say I was impressed. I enjoyed it. I was not upset. I would give it like a B-.
I'd give it a C. I mean, like the gore was just amazing. Like I don't want to just keep throwing back to it, but I just loved the violence. The violence that was they didn't hold back at all, and I like that. But it's like you said, when it got to the story, it kind of dragged. And before we jump to your grade, man, what did you guys think of like the twisted asylum stuff?
It was awesome.
I love.
That was scene where Benicio del Toro gets tossed into an insane asylum for obvious reasons, and he's put through a series of tortures.
It's like a water torture,
and it's just this kind of student film, screwed up, messed up visuals.
It's totally that. And
it was cool. I mean, overall, I thought it was a silly film. Honestly, it was really campy, and I don't think it had aimed to be. And truth is, most camp films never aim to be, like really campy and cheesy. I think this movie was really goofy, and it was funny at times. It obviously wasn't supposed to be, but then when the Wolfman came out, it was awesome, really very cool effects, cool violence. Overall, I was entertained, but kind of bored, so I'd give it a C.
By the way, I'm just going to set a new rule for the View and Brew. Basically, if the two other guys finish their beer first, you got to chug yours.
Ha ha!
So overall, it's an average movie with awesome effects.
And these guys killed their beers first. We were drinking Bud Light today, keeping it simple.
And
Werewolf Ale.
Oh, ironically, that was created before we saw the movie. He actually makes his own beer.
Eric Steele's own concoction, Werewolf Ale.
Yep. This is the last of the batch too.
So the Wolfman, it's worth a check. Not that great, not the worst thing I've ever seen.
Don't expect too much, but you'll enjoy their time.
Entertained the whole time.
Yeah. So, some cool scenes. So, here's to you, here's to Eric, here's to Brent, I'm Brandon. Now I gotta chug it.
She exerts enormous power, doesn't she?
You believe in curses?
Never look back, Lawrence. Never look back. The past is a wilderness of horrors. Darkest hours of hell lie before you. Run free. Kill or be killed. It is glorious, isn't it?